Welcome back to another edition of the Real Life Finance Podcast. I am your host, Ben Joergens, and today I'm excited because we've got Matt Keene, one of our new members to Old National's team, and excited to have you here, Matt.
Thanks so much for having me. This has been a fantastic opportunity and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so came in from Minneapolis, if I remember correctly, and Chief Information Officer. I did fail to mention that. Yep. So get all things technology with you, right?
That's right. Well, I would say so, but I also like to sort of be really focused on the business and the business outcomes. And so partnering with all of the business leaders across the organization has been a big part of my focus for the last few months.
That's awesome. So we're going to dabble into a lot of technology talk, but I want to get to know you and let our listeners get to know you. So tell us a bit about your background and what led you to become an employee here at Old National Bank.
Well, start way back in the old days.
Perfect.
I started programming in third grade.
Really?
So I like to say I never learned to write because of that. So it's been something that's always been part of me, is being deeply involved in technology. But ever since I graduated college and started working in the financial services industry, it was never technology for technology's sake. It was always to solve some problem, to work on an actual business need and solve kind of business requirements. And so it was always built on something for a reason and not just from a technology perspective. So that's been kind of the framework that I started from. And
Can I ask real quick what you did in third grade?
Oh gosh, I wrote games mostly, little games. I mean, this is back in the 80s.
Like the Commodore 64
time?
Yeah,
okay. Apple II, Commodore 64 era, exactly. So little games and little fun puzzles and things like that.
Nice.
There was one time even during recess where I stayed in to program. So this is lovely, right? And I actually had people sitting around me watching me code.
No kidding.
So that was weird. That was a unique experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've got 4 kids myself. My youngest one, who's 8. Big Roblox gamer, right? He started creating his own levels. I'm like, these kids these days, technology is ingrained to them at a young age now.
Yep, it was not nearly as glorious as Minecraft, but
So going from third grade, it's been tech since then.
Tech since then. So I went to college, started in college music actually. So started writing music, performing music, and so forth. But quickly fell back to computer science as my degree. Continuing on with music, of course, but that was where I graduated, focused on computer science and development, and immediately went into consulting and consulted in financial services companies. So everything from 401ks to credit card to investment management and all the like.
No kidding.
And so that's where I started. And then from that point on, eventually landed at American Express and Ameriprise Financial, really focusing on banking and brokerage systems. So got more deep into the investment management world. Financial advice was a key part of that era, of course. So I spent a lot of time on financial advisor tools and systems, focused on how do we help customers and help our advisors help customers. And I think one of the principles that I've always brought with me is that I don't really want technology to disintermediate the people, right? It's about relationships. It's really about how does a advisor or a banker interact with their customers, and how can we build technology to make that interaction as frictionless as possible, as easy as possible.
Yeah, I think that's so key, Matt, that you say that, because so many people use tech for everything. I'm going to throw out some AI stuff. We'll get into AI in a little bit, but having the relationship building is so important, and using the tools to make that an easier decision, right? A lot of the back office type stuff and whatnot. But it is impressive what technology does these days.
Very true.
And as all my 4 kids are still in middle school and younger, I'm like, okay, you can't use it for everything, right? We've got to learn how to build relationships and share these things. But so you've really done this since a kid. I'm curious with music. What kind of music did you write?
Oh gosh, everything. One year, I think it was my senior year in college, I had a composition recital. So it was just like a regular student recital, except it was all pieces I wrote performed by other people. So a string quartet, cello, classical guitar, electric guitar, piano, saxophone, a whole mix of different instruments and different types of music.
Do you still do music?
Yeah. I still do music quite a lot.
Awesome. What's your favorite genre?
Oh, geez. A lot of different things. I'm a guitarist as my primary instrument, so I kind of gravitate towards more guitar-oriented music.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of stuff in the synth space and kind of multifaceted as much as I can. Yeah.
That's awesome. So kind of taking that from college level to the companies that you mentioned, and we're excited to have you here at Old National Bank. And as you know, I've been with the company for about 26 years now, and seeing how technology has changed and how we've had to adapt as an organization is very, very key. So bringing your expertise is something that we're excited about for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So walk us through some of the tools, Matt, that you've used to maybe enhance client experiences, maybe build upon what you talked about from the wealth side or any other areas where,
Sure.
because, in this show, it's really about how do we help our clients and our listeners be able to use technology to better themselves, right? So what are some of the ways that you've kind of enhanced client experiences throughout your years?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I found is very important and is something we do well here as well. And that is we have to kind of understand what's going on with our customers. And there's a lot of tools that are in the industry that we leverage to do this. And one of the things is called synthetic monitoring, where we have a lot of systems throughout the country pretending to be users logging in and seeing what's happening, so that we can get in front of any issues that happen for the customer well ahead of them noticing and calling in, right? So we want to stay constantly vigilant and monitoring everything. And that is one key part of customer experiences. Availability is number one, right? If you can't experience the system, it doesn't really matter, right? I think the other tool I found very effective is really making sure that you really understand the customer journey and the customer experience, which means you need to experience it yourself as well. So you need to participate. You need to actually be someone who is using the online banking platform, using the mobile banking platform, who's calling into the call center. It's really profound to actually be part of the system so that you really understand what the customers are experiencing and going through.
Yeah, I think that's so huge because, it's like I have friends that, maybe were with other financial institutions, like, well, show me how yours works, right? If I don't use it, I've just kind of not sold myself or the place I work for. But yeah, and the tools are great, but knowing how to use them, like whether it's digitally transfer, today it still blows me away how you can just transfer money between phones, because we used to go out to dinner, Matt, and with a group of people, and there'd always be somebody that forgot their money, quote unquote.
Convenient.
Like, oh, don't worry now, just text it to me, right? We're good. But it is amazing how things have changed. And on the flip side, there's probably some worries about putting technology in place so fraudsters don't take our money as well, right?
For sure.
That seems to be a popular topic lately that I'm hearing about.
Absolutely. And I think there's a few parts of it. One is making sure that as we build these systems and we roll out these customer experiences, that security is at the forefront, right? It has to be fundamentally secure. It has to be engineered that way. It has to be monitored. From a fraud perspective, from a transaction perspective, from all aspects of it. But in addition to that, a huge part of this is education, making sure that we have the outreach and sharing best practices and having our bankers and our advisors work with customers and educate them about security so that they're already sort of pre-wired to be sensitive to potential fraud, to be sensitive to phishing, to be sensitive to various other attacks that are coming, so that we're putting all the defenses we can put in place, but the end consumer is the last line of defense too. Yes. And so we need to make sure we can help them as much as possible. 100%
agree. So my mom, early 70s, she'll always text me or call me like, Ben, I got this text message. Is this real or not? And I always tell people, have somebody in the bank, as digitally as we're getting, as many things as you can do on your phone these days, it's great to have that relationship with somebody at the bank so that you can ask those questions, because the more we know about you, the more we can help you, right?
Absolutely. I field questions from my parents all the time. Yeah. And not only on the security side of things, on investment advice, on banking advice, and everything. So absolutely.
Trusted advisor. Yes,
right? Trusted advisor.
Love it. So you've worked across several financial institutions. What do you say is a common tech challenge that you've seen, and how do you address that in a successful way?
Well, we talked a little bit at the beginning, and I started programming back in the 80s. Yeah. And like it or not, that is a very real factor in many of these organizations, that at some point there is some really old system that everybody is incredibly dependent on, and it's what the entire business runs on. Yeah. That has been almost universally true in the companies that I've worked with. And so the big thing for that is that there is the consumer, and the consumer is getting experiences from every platform they interact with. They get an Apple experience, they get a Facebook experience, they get an Amazon experience. And the difference between that and working with their bank or their financial advisor, it's the same experience they're looking for. Yeah. And so the struggle is taking a lot of these really heavy, secure, robust systems that we've lived with for many years and giving those kind of contemporary experiences on top of it. Yeah. And that's really where a lot of the technology focus has been for quite a while, and it's been a big focus of our team as well, to make sure that we can make this the most contemporary experience as possible, that people are getting the kinds of things they expect, that they're interacting and being able to service their accounts real time, and they're getting sort of the real time updates and notifications and all the things that they expect from any of their non-financial platforms as well. I mean, that level set and sort of where the bar has been raised for experience now is driven by a lot more than just financial services companies.
It's huge, and you're right. I mean, I think back from a personal level, I'll bring up my mom again. My dad was very old school, had the check register out every day, which I'm not against, right? Keeping track of stuff is great, but would never venture into the digital and mobile banking world. So he passed about a year ago, and my mom was like, what should I do? So I met with her, and I had her download the app. I had her meet with the branch, kind of show her some things. And she called me the other day, and she was like, Matt, she said, Ben, I don't know how I didn't do my banking with that. You get used to, as you mentioned, from a system perspective, you get used to the same ways or running on the same system forever. But sometimes a change is not a bad thing.
Right.
And she's like, Ben, I deposited my first check on my phone. I'm like, good job, Mom, right? And I was proud of her. But then she tells her friends and things like that. So it's really when people are used to a certain tech for a long time and taking a chance on something, it really can make a big difference for them.
Absolutely.
Good. So let's dive into AI a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, AI is all over. I use it, I'm on part of the team that uses it here. I've used it from a personal experience as well. So it's transforming how we interact with financial services specifically. So can you talk about a way that you've seen, or maybe even you can predict with the crystal ball of how to improve the client experience with AI?
Well, that's an interesting challenge there. I would maybe call this one out is a way that customers can interact with AI. And it's not so much that it's replacing an experience, but it prepares them to be better at working with a banker or working with an advisor. And the example I give is education. If you have any question about banking or lending or financial planning or investment, and you need to understand a term or learn advice, the AI systems that are out there to ask those kind of questions and educate yourself are really profound.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the most easy to navigate and the best example of how to really upskill and get a better customer experience, because you can be better educated. And I've found this is one of the best uses of this is how tailored that education can be.
Yeah.
It's not like a standard web page or a Wikipedia article that says, here's how you do this, or this is what, how a bond works and things like that. But it can be tailored to you personally to help you through analogy or other explanations. And if it doesn't make sense to you, ask again in a different way to say, can you simplify that? Or can you go into more detail on this? And just iterating on that with one of the AI tools to educate yourself on a lot of these topics is an amazing way to increase your knowledge, but also the ability for you to partner with, say, a financial advisor.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives you good questions to ask, right?
Absolutely.
So, dear AI, I'm meeting with an advisor this weekend at Old National Bank, whatever it is, right? And I want to know some questions to ask them. It can give you some great opportunities there. And so, like, in that education perspective, obviously we're on the real life finance, and we have our branded real life finance curriculum here. But I think, Matt, now we're up to over 250 individuals that volunteer their time to teach about financial education. So a lot of times when I'm out, I do share about AI. I mean, I want that personal experience. I want them to come to the bank, but there's some really good tools. How do you see things in the future with this, working with, do you see AI being a part of like mobile banking or things like that? And is there's so much potential, it seems like, and it's gotten here so quick.
Right. I mean, I would say it's almost to the level of like utilities, right? Where it's not like you think about, is there electricity involved in this? It's going to be fundamental almost everywhere. From a customer experience perspective, there are lots of things that happen inside of the bank that are going to change because of it. Thinking about from a credit underwriting perspective, what are the ways that we're going to evaluate all of the, different types of documents that people are submitting as collateral, and making that go faster because we have better tools to assess and get our teams operating in a faster and more efficient way. Those are kinds of simple ways you can think about that. And then in terms of the customer experience, thinking about, what are ways at which customers may want to interact and have agents do things for them. One of my interesting, future-looking examples is like, I've got lots of different credit cards and bank accounts and different ways to pay for things. For this particular purchase, is there a best one I should use to give me the most rewards or the most points or get the best interest rate on this? And have help in that way to help optimize it. And you can see a direction where AI agents can help consumers in that way too.
Yeah. And I would tell you something that didn't work well for me. I had my first fantasy football last year, and my friends are like big followers, right, man? And I'm like, tell me who's going to, here's my choices. I need a quarterback. I lost every one of them. So remember that there are some issues from a disclaimer
Absolutely.
perspective that it's not, and it probably won't tell you what stocks to invest in and things like
Absolutely.
that. But
In fact, I would strongly recommend against that. Yes.
exactly, I would too. Talk to your financial advisor, people. They're good. Okay, so let me ask one follow-up question on the AI side. So somebody that's never dabbled in it.
Right.
So maybe, a lot of my friends do it. I know the younger generation, they're teaching it in schools now. For somebody that hasn't got into artificial intelligence, what are some things that maybe they could use to test it out to better their, you mentioned the financial ed type stuff. Is there some things that might be a good way to start for them to build confidence with it?
Oh, for sure.
Skeptical?
Yeah, I mean, I think treating it as sort of a smart agent at your disposal, a teacher or a confidant of sorts. Just have a chat, have an interaction, ask a question. Try to figure something out. And it can be almost anything, and just to get sort of the feel for how you can interact and how it behaves.
Yeah.
And there's so many free options available as well. It doesn't require a lot of financial commitment either, to get sort of that initial experience. And from there, I think, talking to your friends and family, and I'm sure many of them have similar experiences, and you can share, I tried to do this and this is what I saw and this is how it helped me do this, or I was trying to figure out how to rewire the garage door opener, and so I went and it helped explain it to me and how this thing had to work, and those kinds of examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was a time where I had to come up with the right text to send my wife because I'm like, I did all. What do I need to do to make you happy? No, I'm just kidding.
Does that work for you?
AI. No. So as we move on outside of AI, how do we ensure that innovation in banking tech specifically doesn't compromise like client trust, right? Because we're built upon having client relationships and maybe some guiding principles that help you and your team kind of strike that balance of not losing the trust from the clients.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think security first is a really key principle here, that everything that we look at, we have to understand what are the security implications of it, what are the fraudulent implications of it, and making sure that, as we look to solution, as we partner with many other companies and vendors to help bring these experiences together, that that is one of the fundamental principles as we assess the people that we work with, the vendors that we work with, to make sure that, from a due diligence perspective, we are adhering to our governance principles. So I think within a banking industry, governance is a fundamental, and that is one of the key drivers that we use to make sure that we're assessing the various systems and the platforms that we use in a safe way. And there's other ways that we do it as well, in terms of, as we string together a series of systems, there's experiences that help a customer, achieve, a transfer or get a new loan. What are each of the steps in the process, and making sure that we understand, how is that controlled? What are we doing to share information? What are we doing to validate the customer, authorize the customer, and make sure that they are who they say they are, and those kind of things to establish that level of trust.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece. And for people that don't use a lot of tech, in their current banking world as a consumer, can you share some? Because I think it's pretty cool to share some of the things that people don't know that maybe that their mobile phone can do with their bank. Like some of the different types of transactions. When I went through this with Mom, she was like, my phone can do that?
Oh, for sure.
So for people that maybe, because I know not everybody adapts right away to mobile banking. So what are some of the things nowadays for people that may not use it that you can do?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is, for example, our mobile app. I mean, you can see all your account information real time. You can transact. You can move between accounts.
Yeah. Even past banking hours.
Even past banking hours, you see all this information, and be able to take the actions you need to support yourself and your family. I think the other thing is in the payment space, the intersection with platforms like Zelle, for example, or the standard tap architecture that you see everywhere. You go tap for paying this, tap for paying this. How that all feeds into, and how you can have that fit into your financial life as well. So the mobile platform is really a contemporary way that most people are starting to experience banking and financial services.
Yeah, you deposit checks. I noticed you can turn your card off and on. So if you lost your card, you can pause it right there.
Absolutely.
It is pretty neat, and just it's so convenient these days. I'm like, the security side of it too. Like I look at my Apple Pay card and it only shows the last 4 digits or something like. So I'm not losing my entire number of my debit card by just utilizing my phone.
I think the other thing that's really important to understand is the level of security that goes into these things. It seems super simple when you just use your face or use your thumb or something to authorize it.
Yeah.
But all that goes into it to ensure that that device, that's you, and that connection is secure is an enormous amount of security engineering that is pretty world class.
We just get to see the rainbow at the end,
we get
right?
to see the easy rainbow at the end.
100%.
And all the backs of engineers for the last 20 years who tried to make it work. Yeah.
Well, even paying bills, right? Our average listener has 15 to 17 bills on a monthly basis, right? You think about that. You buying less checks. You're paying them ACH or the automatic clearinghouse instantly. It's a nice savings feature for clients to be able to use this.
For sure.
Yeah, no stamps, no envelopes, all that kind of thing as well. So let's talk about, in your experience, Matt, what's a common tech misconception that holds people back maybe from engaging with finances? I know we touched upon utilizing it from an AI perspective. Are there any other misconceptions you can think of that really say, I'm not going to do this because either I don't trust it, or anything that you've seen in your experiences?
Right. Well, I think the phone is a big one, right? That there may be misconceptions around how secure that is.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would say that's probably the most secure path, really. Yeah. I think the other thing is, really thinking about, what is the technology that's going into the call center?
Yeah.
There's some really high-tech things that are going on in there. And I think that's another platform that people really maybe not have a full understanding of just how secure and an amount of authentication and authorization that goes into how we operate our call centers as well. So I think that's a really key feature that there is. It's almost it's like an iceberg of security that's underneath here. You see this little surface experience that you have, but there's a huge architecture beneath it that's actually making it end-to-end secure for you.
Old school banking to me is more scary, right? Because like if I have my checkbook sitting in a drawer and I have a bunch of people over, if one person gets a copy of that check and takes a picture of whatever, they've got my name, my address, my phone number, my routing number, my account number. And if they want to go pay their bills online,
for sure,
they could go do that, right?
Yep.
So it is interesting. I was driving through a subdivision last week too, and I saw, in the old school, when you wanted to pay a bill, you just throw the red flag up, right?
Yep.
True red flag, because that gives thieves an opportunity to drive through and say,
there's a check in there. Exactly.
Absolutely. So as sometimes we transition out of the old school ways, it is like we see the easy side, but to your point, there's a lot of great things going in the background to make sure that's a secure transaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. So, an innovative or financial habit or tool that you personally use, Matt. I'd love to know something that's fond of your liking of the way you handle finances.
Well, two things, I guess. One, I do use AI a lot for educating myself. Right. If there's any topic or some idea, learning about, my financial advisor talked about a BDC, or my banker was talking about this particular lending, secure lending structure or something. Maybe this is something I need more education on. And so leveraging AI for all things education has been really, really helpful. I think the other thing that I find is a common tool in most banking and financial platforms is the idea of account aggregation. Bringing together all of your different accounts so that you can holistically see them and manage them and understand where you're at across all your lending, across all of your mortgages, across all of your accounts and investments. I find that's a really key tool for me as well to help manage all the diversity of things that people experience with.
Yeah.
And I think the last aspect that I find maybe not sort of technology, but just an opportunity, and maybe something that I more recently has been brought to my attention as I'm joining Old National, is that I think a lot of employees should really look at their benefits programs and really understand what it can get them. I look at like insurance, for example. I think a lot of people really misunderstand how much insurance benefit they can get from their employer.
At very little cost.
At really low cost. And it seems like, I already have insurance, I don't need to look at this. But if you actually do the math and evaluate it, you can see it's a really amazing opportunity. So I think there's lots of things like that people can look at as little hacks to make their finance better.
Maybe we should have a future podcast around benefit enrollment.
Benefit enrollment,
right?
Exactly.
Because you're right. I mean, people may have a life insurance policy, but if you can grab a couple $100,000 extra for pennies on the dollar, I mean, that's a good thing there. Yep. And I like that you talked about, as you know, a lot of acronyms in banking, right? And in tech, I mean, heck, our name O&B or an acronym, right? So a lot of times bankers may talk in that formality. So being able to utilize AI to help understand some of those things. Because to your point, having a relationship with somebody that you can have the conversation with is huge.
Right.
But maybe we don't want to sound like we don't know what we're talking about. So you can
You're
use that
embarrassed to
tool.
ask the wrong question. Yeah.
Because even with finances, a lot of people tell me, I'm like, why have you not asked your bank? They're like, well, I'm afraid I'll feel dumb and stupid. And I'm like, trust me, there's no bad question when it comes to money. It's personal.
Right.
And people hesitate talking about that. So utilizing tech to be able to better educate yourself to have those deeper discussions with an advisor or a banker, I think is really key.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the relationship with your banker, with a loan officer, with your advisor, all of those can really be profound on you. And the better you are able to, communicate with them and the trust that you establish with them, the more value you get out of the relationship.
Amen. I love it. I love it. So, okay, real quick, from your previous time or previous employers and now, here at Old National, is there a financial lesson that you've learned from your career journey that you wish more people would know about?
Well, one of my favorite phrases, you either have the price or the proof, right?
Yeah.
Neither both. And then the other one really is it's time and money. And so start early, invest and save, and use time to your advantage.
Yeah.
It's one of those things there's all kinds of, mad stock run-ups here and there that you want to try to participate in, but it's always behind the curve. You've always missed some point on it. You didn't buy GameStop when it was $2 a share,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But it's one of those things that if you just say, I need to just leverage my assets and let time do the work for me, invest well in a well-balanced risk monitored portfolio for your lifestyle and let time do its work. I think that's one of the biggest learnings I've had is not trying to chase it, but to just let time be your biggest ally.
I agree. Man, I started here at the age of 19 as a college student. I was handed my book about retirement planning, and I think I threw it in the trash can, right? I'm like, I'm 19, whatever. So then I remember pulling it back out a little bit later. I'm like, I'll look at this, right? And I'm looking, and then I open it up. It's like, high cap funds, low cap funds. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And then I threw it away again. And then one time I'm like, okay, I'll start to put it, and then I lost some money. And then I talked to an advisor, and I'm like, can you just give me some sense of structure based on my age? And I'm so glad I met with them. And they were able to show this, and now you have the tools to be able to do that. But I lost so much money because I didn't start at 19. I delayed it several years. And I think so many people quit because if you look at a chart that shows if I start at 19 and I retire at 65, you're going to see that chart, slow. But all of a sudden, once it does go up, it's going
fast.
way up.
Yep.
And I think that's what happens is that a lot of people back out. They're like, this retirement thing's not for me because I'm not seeing the instant gratification of my money doubling or whatever. And I think trust in the process, right? Let that money grow over time because once it does and you start getting in your peak earning careers and take advantage of matches, that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't do. But that curve really goes in your favor as we get close to that retirement age. And that's one thing I wish I would have learned when I was younger.
Right. I mean, I think it's such a critical tool to learn around how to have a real well-balanced financial portfolio, even at every level, being a 19-year-old or being 64-year-old and about to retire.
Yes.
Just having a well-balanced portfolio at wherever you are in life is really important. And I think to your point around education and knowing that I might not know what any of these things are, but I should probably find out. And there's so many ways of doing that.
Oh, yeah. Compound interest rule 72. So listeners, look it up, right? Use AI to look it up.
Yes.
So Matt, what we like to do is every end of the segment, we like to end with a lightning round. We're going to go with some questions here and just to get to know the personal side of Matt Keene. So number one, Matt, what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned in your career so far?
I would say the biggest thing is it is all about relationships. I think that's had the most profound effect on my entire career, via people I've worked for or people that work for me or partners I've made over the years. And it's something that I've brought with me in every step along my career journey, is that really focusing on those relationships and that partnership. As I started at the beginning, from a technology perspective, it was never just about technology. It was about doing stuff with technology with people to solve things for them. And that was really the key part. It is really relationships and partnerships is fundamental.
See, coming from a tech guy, a lot of times people think they're just sitting in the back office or relationships. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. And that, I think, affects so many areas of our life, right?
Absolutely.
100%. Number two, Matt, if you could instantly master any skill, what would you choose and why?
Oh.
We've had a variety of answers on the show, too. So we've had, going back in time trial, a lot of different things.
I'm going to be super simple. Piano sight reading.
Really?
Oh my gosh. I have struggled with piano for like 35 years now. and I still have a very difficult time with it. So if I could flip a dime and just be the perfect sight reader of anything,
Wouldn't that
that
be
would be
awesome?
absolutely out of this world
Oh, I
amazing.
took piano lessons for a little bit, but all I did was I impressed my teacher once where I memorized, my brother taught me the song and I memorized it. Showed up to the lesson. She's like, Ben, you've learned so much. I'm like, I didn't know. And then I quit the next week. But so, yeah, that would be a really cool skill.
Oh,
isn't it amazing when you see people do that?
yeah, it's just amazing to me. And I think, I grew up primarily on single note instruments.
Uh-huh.
And so the idea of being fluent at reading multiple lines of music at once was always something that was like mental effort to do so.
That's
And
on your
so,
music love. Do
yeah.
you use technology with the
Oh my
music
gosh,
as
yeah.
far because I see these crazy videos
Oh
on
yeah.
social media. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be one other area that I've worked on a lot for the last, say, 5 or 6 years. Probably actually leading up into COVID. As soon as COVID really hit
Yeah.
and everybody was home a lot, I converted my office into a music studio, and so I started building everything for being able to record music, everything from guitars or keyboards or percussion or anything,
Yeah.
vocals. And I built sort of a music recording setup so that I could continue to write music, continue to record music, and perform music.
So you can make
I
me
know.
sound better.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Exactly.
I'm
With
liking
some
it.
nice compression, a little bit of EQ on
Yeah.
the voice will be good.
All I do
Yeah.
is rap at karaoke. So
All right,
I
all
would
right.
love to maybe we'll talk offline.
We'll use AI to update the lyrics.
That's
How's
right.
that? Yeah.
That's right. All right, number 3, and we'll close with this. And Matt, what is obviously you have a busy life and long work hours. When you need to relax or unwind, what do you do?
I love spending time with my family. Sitting out on the deck, looking in the trees, looking at
Yeah.
the birds, and having a nice glass of bourbon at sunset
Absolutely.
is probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah, big family.
I've got 3 daughters and a wife, and we we're up in the Minnesota area, and it's been absolutely amazing.
So 3 girls. So I've got 2 girls and 2 boys. Girls are different when it comes to finances too. So maybe
Yes.
we just dabble in this a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
How different is it? Like, what are some things that parents might think about when they're raising boys or girls, but girls specifically when it comes to a cost perspective?
Oh my gosh, yeah, like a cost. It's that I'm in the heart of that right now. So I've got two daughters in college and
Yeah.
and private high school. So one of the biggest things I think is just helping them actually learn about how to manage their finances. They all have checking accounts and savings accounts. Though I manage a lot of money movement for them because I get the 12 o'clock p.m. or a.m. call for Uber fees.
Yes.
But at the same time, being able to say, okay, when you earn money, here's where it goes, and here's how you can budget for it, and here's how you can see how your savings grow. And when you do have to do something, how you can budget for a bigger purchase and things like that, and really give them that experience of how do they do that. I think with my older daughter, we've already started talking about from an investment perspective. Now that she's graduating and getting some job experience, things like 401ks and how they can start those right now so that when they turn 65, they've got the benefit of time.
That's awesome. So for our listeners, make sure it's okay to talk to your kids about money. Like that's one thing that I see a lot of parents, they're hesitant because maybe they made mistakes. But be vulnerable, share those things,
for sure.
right? And so we don't have our kids go through the same mistakes. So I love that you talk to your kids about that.
Yep. So they each have their own checking account, their own checking cards.
Awesome.
And use that for buying things and negotiating with their parents.
Well, good. Well, Matt Keene, thank you so much for being here today and being a part of the Real Life Finance. And I appreciate you taking some time to not only share your expertise, but also some of your personal life as well and thoughts on money.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. This has been fantastic.
Excellent.